All right, so this video is going to be a quick overview of what's expected in your BATS R bugs lab activity. So you can open up that document and you go through, and we're talking about comparing organisms and how we figure out relatedness between different organisms. Historically, this has been morphological. So we look at what animals look similar, and those are the ones we say are closely related. So something like the field of herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians, and they were grouped together because they look pretty similar, kind of these creepy crawly. Turns out, now that we know about DNA and proteins, we can look at these sequences and we see that they are really not that closely related. So they were incorrectly grouped together because of the way that they looked. So what we do in this activity is there are similarities between bats and their bugs and birds, all of these different organisms. So how can we really figure out where this relatedness actually lies? So this document is going to bring you to this website, this Uniprot website, and this is going to help us look at proteins that all of these organisms have, and those that have the most similar proteins are the most closely related, right? Because as we're talking about transcription and translation to go from DNA to RNA to protein, those changes in the DNA can result in slight differences within that protein. Specifically here, we're looking at hemoglobin beta, which is part of that hemoglobin, which is in red blood cells to transfer oxygen throughout the body. Okay, so we can look at these proteins, and that gives us an idea of the differences in the DNA between these organisms. And the more differences means that there's more evolutionary time between them, because as we saw, mutations are normal and they build up over time. Okay? So here on this Uniprot database, up here in the top, we are going to search for hemoglobin beta. Okay? So now that we've searched for hemoglobin beta, we've got a lot of stuff showing up here. So we can set this from 25 to 50. And what you're going to go through is you're going to go through this and you're going to choose some bats. We're going to choose some insects. We're going to choose some birds here. Okay. So what we see is we've got these check boxes. So we've got a mouse here. And ideally here, we just have the HBB and not the numbers after it. So we'll choose Rattus norvegicus, the Norway rat here. We can choose human. Let's see what else we have. We've got a chicken here, which is HBB. And so you'll just pick these things. Okay, so I'm just going to do this as an example so you can see what it ends up looking like. So now that we've got a few selected, up here at the top, you see this align. So you find the different organisms that you're going to select there. Make sure you check that box. Again, we just want it to be HBB. If it's got these numbers after it, that can skew our results a little bit. So we're going to click this align button. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us a phylogenetic tree. And this tree is going to give us the relatedness of all of these different organisms evolutionarily. So we can see those that are closest together on the tree are going to be more closely related to one another. Okay. So here we have the sheep and the human, and they branch off here. So this is where they share a common ancestor. There was some organism here that as it started to diverge, for some reason it split off evolutionarily. One branch ended up being humans, the other ended up being sheep, and there would be lots of other different organisms branched off throughout here as well. And then branched off a little further from the human and the sheep, we've got the rat. So we've got our three mammals here. And then branched off even further back, as expected, this bird is not as closely related to all of these mammals as the mammals are to one another. So that's kind of what you're analyzing here with these R bats bugs. And so this is what gives you that idea. And so when you get this tree, that's what you're going to talk about in are bats birds or are bats bugs? What are bats? And you're going to base your argument on this. And then that second part, we're doing the exact same thing, except now we're looking at whales. And so we're going to figure out if whales are either even-toed ungulates or odd-toed ungulates. So perissodactyl or artiodactyl. And you can Google those terms to figure out what examples of each thing is, so you can check those boxes as you're going through. And if you have any questions beyond what I've shown in this video, go ahead and send me an email. All right.